1000 Times Resist is probably one of the boldest indie games I've played in quite some time, and it's not going to be for everybody. If you're looking for air combos and hack and slash combat, all that kind of stuff, this ain't for you. This is a game that leans much more heavily and is dependent on its narrative and not so much its gameplay. Things from generational trauma to religion, immigration, racism, morals, self-worth, societal norms, hierarchy, ethics. There's so much you can unpack and pull from this game, and with each chapter it just felt like I was watching a sci-fi thriller unfold right in front of me. And even during the parts when I was confused and didn't understand all of the nuances of the narrative, I still couldn't put the controller down because I had to know what was going to happen next. Now, you see the game from the perspective of the main character named the Watcher, and the Watcher lives in an underground facility with her sisters, as they're called, where a character known as the All-Mother kind of serves as the head figure. She's almost on the level of like a religious deity, in my opinion. In the opening of the game, right out the gate, for some unknown reason, Watcher has had enough of the All-Mother and she stabs her right in the back, insta kill. It's over. And then the game takes you back to the past, and you kind of get to see the events that led up to the stab that was heard around the world, or stab at least heard around that little underground bunker. And I'm not really going to explain much else. This is a game that the less you know beforehand, the better. So I'm not going to get into super specifics, but it's a wild ride. It's a lot of stuff going on in this game. I really like the world of 1000 Times Resist because everything felt intentional and with purpose. It's painted with these very distinct color palettes, from the environments to even the characters themselves. And the colors, they end up making sense. You kind of see how stuff is connected, and the dialogue is really interesting. The characters that you're going to meet have very unique personalities, and depending on your cultural background or upbringing, you might find a lot of these characters pretty relatable. And I thought it was really interesting the way they do the dialogue. Everybody speaks in this really hushed, quiet tone, almost like they're trying to keep a secret. And the verbiage that they use is unique and strange at times. Sometimes dialogue is direct, and sometimes they speak in almost like parables, and it can lead to some very interesting character interactions and dialogue choices. And it sounds really strange, but it really fits the melancholy tone of the game. Side note, it is a little strange that the characters' mouths don't move, but that's a minor side note. After a while, you'll kind of get used to it. And the voice acting does a good enough job to where it's not really that big of a problem. One of the main parts of the game are communions, and these are these little events that you will be participating in, and these communions kind of walk you through these very pivotal events of the All-Mother's life, so you kind of get to see why she was the way she was, and you kind of gather just additional context of just the most important events of the game. And like I said earlier, the narrative is the driving force here. The gameplay is kind of just a means to travel, but the communions do find ways, I feel like, to keep things engaging. Environments are going to change, sometimes very drastically. Perspectives will change, sometimes from first person to third person to like a side scrolling kind of thing. Sometimes you're going to be floating through the sky, hitting these different little markers until you reach your objective. And they also have this really cool time mechanic where you can switch from the past to the present, and this can kind of help you with doing some pretty light puzzle solving, where certain rooms might be blocked off during a specific time period, so you may have to go in the past to go into a certain area and then go back to the present, so on and so forth. And going in the past is also really interesting because you get to talk to the NPCs in the past, and you kind of get a full scope of what this world was like before some of the major events of the game happened, and you kind of get, like I say, just more additional context as to why certain things are taking place. And when you're not doing communions, you'll be exploring the main hub, which is called the Orchard, and this is where you'll interact with the other sisters, some of the other more important figures of the game. You got the Knower, the Healer, Bang Bang Fire, which is such a fire name, no pun intended. That's a great name for a character. But without spoiling, I'll just say, make sure you talk to everybody. People got important stuff to say. You might not understand what they're talking about, but I promise you, they're dropping some gems that at some point, hopefully, you'll catch on to. And one of the other important notes about the Orchard, and this is the one negative I have about 1000 Times Resist, and that is navigation. I'm directionally challenged in real life and in games. So for me, navigation is very important. And unfortunately, in the Orchard, This game doesn't really do you any favors. For one, the layout of the orchard in itself, I love how it looks. It looks great, but the layout is very confusing, and the map, if you can even call it a map, not really helpful. It marks the waypoints for you, but it looks really weird. I don't know. I spent a lot of time running around in circles, being lost, and was very annoying. But I toughed it through. I toughed it out because I loved everything else this game had to offer, just from the narrative, the art style, and the way things were unfolding. So I had to see this through to the end. And I mentioned earlier that 1000 Times Resist is pretty bold, and I say that because with one or two missteps, this could have easily been a convoluted mess, but they managed to just weave and string together so many different themes and topics. And as somebody who is a writer, I gotta tip my hat off to that, because it takes some skill to really pull off what they pulled off. And this was a rare case where I enjoyed being confused at times, because 1000 Times Resist made me ask a lot of questions, and not just questions about the characters and their motivations, but it made me question myself, my decisions, my own morals, my own like sense of reality. Like literally, there was a point in this game where I had to question if certain events that I saw or that I thought I saw, I had to question if those were real or not, or if I was bugging out. I don't know. This game kind of messed with my head a little bit, but it was in a good kind of way. And there was a point where I was for sure that this game was over. I thought the story was wrapping up. Thought we were about to get out of here. They said, nope. There's more. We got more. We're not done yet. Smacked me over the head with even more stuff. And it was a wild ride, man. It was a wild ride, but I enjoyed it all the way through, man. 1000 Times Resist. It's a slight step away from what I would normally play. I am more of kind of an action kind of guy. But I'm glad I gave this a chance. Once again, this will not be for everybody. No air combos to pull off. Nothing crazy. Gameplay is very basic, and it's super basic. This is just walking and talking to people. That's pretty much all you're gonna be doing. But it is a well layered, very well crafted narrative, and the game is presented in a very just intriguing way. The story is presented in an intriguing way, and this game is just really distinct and unique, and it's not really much like anything else I've played before. So if you enjoy narrative driven games, this is probably something you will like, and I would highly recommend this to you. My name is Serial Sensei. Y'all stay safe, y'all stay hydrated, and I will catch y'all on the next video.